Now you are reading this sentence for the first time. Are you? Because down in your brain there is a mechanism, quiet, automatic, completely outside your control, that sometimes whispers that you've been here before. This moment, this exact feeling has already happened, that you already know what comes next. Science has a name for it. Most people think it's a mistake. What if it isn't a mistake at all? What if it's a door? Déjà vu. It is French for seen. It happens to 97% of people at least once in their lifetime. A flash, a sensation. The strange feeling that this conversation, this exact room, this exact moment, you've lived it before. If this video already feels familiar, like you've watched it before, hit the subscribe button. Then just as quickly as it starts, it's gone. For most of history, people thought it was spiritual, memory from a life, a message from somewhere beyond the physical. Cultures thought it was a warning. Others thought it was a sign of fate. Then neuroscience came along. For a while, scientists thought they had figured it out. They hadn't, not even close. Here's what they found when they studied VU in the brain. And this is the part that changed everything. The feeling doesn't happen when you recognize something. It happens when your brain's recognition systems fire without a memory too. Let that sit for a moment. Your brain feels like you've been here before. When it looks for the actual memory, there's nothing. It's like getting a call from a number that doesn't exist. And the question that researchers couldn't shake was simple. Why would the brain do that? In the 1990s, a neurologist named Chris Milan started studying patients with a condition called Déjà vu. These weren't people who just occasionally felt like they'd been here before. These were people who were stuck in it. There were patients who refused to watch TV because every show felt like a rerun. People who stopped reading newspapers because they were sure they'd already read them. A man in the UK got so overwhelmed by the feeling that he stopped leaving his house. He felt like he'd already lived every day before he lived it, not as a metaphor, not as anxiety, as an unrelenting neurological experience. That made reality feel like a copy of something he'd already experienced. Milan's research showed something uncomfortable. Déjà vu isn't a memory mistake. It's a mistake in how we perceive things. That difference matters more than it sounds, because a memory mistake means your past data is messed. That's manageable. A mistake in how we perceive things, that means the way you understand what's real, what's happening now, can malfunction. It can make you feel certain about something before it's even happened. If that mechanism can fail in one way, reward false familiarity. There's a question that neuroscience has been quietly thinking about for decades. Can it fail in the way too? Can it make you feel like moments are completely new when they're not? This is where the story gets darker. The human brain doesn't record experience like a camera records video. It doesn't store complete files. It stores pieces, impressions, sensory snapshots, patterns. And then every time you remember something, your brain rebuilds that memory from those pieces every single time. This means that memory in the biological sense isn't a playback system. It's a storytelling system. Storytellers, even unconscious ones, fill in gaps. They smooth out inconsistencies. They build narratives out of fragments, which means everything you remember has already been changed. Every memory you're certain about has been partially rebuilt. Every moment think you know has been, at least in part, created. Now add déjà vu back into this. If your brain can create familiarity, if it can convince you with complete emotional certainty that you've been somewhere you haven't, then what is it actually doing when it creates real familiarity? How do you know the difference between a memory and a construction? That wasn't the worst part. The worst part is what the simulation hypothesis community picked up from this research. Where they took it, there's a growing theory, not fringe, increasingly discussed inside serious, philosophical, and computational circles, that consciousness itself may work on, something like a predictive loop. Your brain, according to this model, isn't reacting to the world, it's predicting it constantly, milliseconds ahead of input. Running simulations of what it expects will happen and adjusting when reality doesn't. You are never experiencing the moment directly, you are experiencing your brain's prediction of it, corrected slightly by sensory data arriving from the outside. Déjà vu, under this framework, becomes something. It's the moment when the prediction is too good, when the brain's simulation of what's about to happen is accurate, so complete that when the real moment arrives, the brain has already filed it, already processed it, already labeled it as known, with every fiber of your consciousness that you have been here before. Because in a sense, inside the architecture of your own mind, you lived the prediction, then you lived the moment. The two felt identical. Here's what this means for you now. If your brain is constantly running simulations of reality, if every moment you experience is, in some sense, reconstructed and pre-modeled, then the question of whether you've lived this moment before becomes almost unanswerable, because you're never fully in the moment. You're always ahead of it, or slightly behind it, or running a model of it that closely approximates it. This isn't abstract philosophy. This is what the neuroscience of coding, memory, reconsolidation, and confabulation research all converge on. The mind doesn't live in reality. It lives in a representation of reality, updated constantly imperfectly by senses that can be fooled by memory, that can be rebuilt by emotion that both. Here's the part almost nobody talks about. The present moment is a construction. If every single second of your experience is assembled, not captured, then what does it mean to live something? What does it mean to be present? The ancient Greeks had two words for time: chronos, sequential, measurable; time, kairos, the felt sense of a moment, the quality of now. Modern neuroscience suggests that kairos, your felt sense of the present, is always to some degree a fabrication, a beautiful, necessary, subjective fabrication. Déjà vu is the moment when the seam shifts slightly and you catch a glimpse of the machinery running underneath. Everything you call experience, so the time it happens. That flash of impossible familiarity, that whisper that says you've been here before. Don't dismiss it. Don't call it a mistake. Sit in it for a second, because what you're feeling isn't a malfunctioned, it's your brain showing you briefly what it's doing all the time. It's the architecture of consciousness flickering into view. Observer of your life. You are a continuous, mostly unconscious author of it, constructing it. It's occasionally reliving it before it even happens. Whether any of us have ever truly lived a moment, whether we've only ever lived our version of it, somehow, impossibly, that makes it more real, not less.